Hi, welcome to Style2Fashion. I'm Tamara Mack. Today, we're behind the scenes today with Brian Mulligan, who's a producer, actor here, actually in Tucson, you're based.
Correct.
And you have a company called Emerald Elephant Productions.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But you are busy. I mean, there's actually, we've been talking a lot about film and modeling and in the industry here in Tucson. There's really quite a little buzz going about most people don't know about.
Yes, people would be surprised that there's probably 1,000 people involved in filmmaking just in Tucson,
right,
in the southern Arizona local area. And every weekend, just throughout the year, there's always something being shot, from student films all the way through full-length feature films.
Right. Now, you just had a premiere, actually, of something you produced.
Last night, Red 71, which was directed and produced by Patrick Roddy, who's a U of A professor.
Okay.
And also produced by Vicki Westover, who's also at the U of A, and myself, and I acted in it.
Okay.
It's a neo-noir.
All right.
Mostly starring local people. Nathan Jin is the lead. We brought in some other people from LA and from Louisiana and New York, people that Patrick had worked with before.
Right.
Angus Scrim, who played the tall man in Phantasm.
Phantasm, yeah.
He was.
The ball.
It was great to bring him in and work with him too. He played the coroner.
Okay, that's a fitting role for him. And,
yes.
And he was just here at the loft.
That same weekend,
yes,
it was through us because we brought him in and we said to the loft, hey, would you like to have him come speak? And so they scheduled Phantasm for that day, and he came in and signed a couple hundred autographs. And he was just wonderful to everyone.
It was a great event, yeah. That's great. Now, you have actually been in a movie with one of my favorite actresses, Jennifer Gardner.
Yes.
And that's, of course, The Kingdom.
Yes, and she was wonderful. In fact, there was, on one of the last days, it was the last day for a lot of people, and it was a scorching hot day in Phoenix, and everyone was just miserable. And when they were done for the day, she invited the extras to come over and have their picture taken with her, and it just went on, and the assistant director was going, "You people leave her alone. We weren't supposed to even have cameras."
Right.
And but she said, "No, that's okay. I invited them to do this," and in probably 5-10 minutes, she was taking pictures with them, and she was just the sweetest person. And everyone was really good to work with. There was Chris Cooper, Jason Bateman, and of course Jamie Foxx was there the whole time, and he was, just to see how focused he was during his work was really impressive.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting when you see actors that you see and you think of them in a certain way because of the roles they play. Like Steve Martin, who's very fun and just off the wall, and in person he's very serious.
Right,
he's
just like
focused
me.
Person. I know. I was going to mention that, but so what's going on here in Tucson? I mean, what's some things we can look forward to coming up? Casting calls, shorts, indies.
Right now, there are a lot of student films being shot. It's the time of year when they do all their principal photography for student films, and some of them are still casting. The best place, if you're an aspiring actor in town, is to go to TucsonStage.com, and that's where most of the listservs and the casting calls go out on their listserv. But anyway, and I mean, daily they're looking for cast and crew to work on films. Right now we're shooting a horror film that you know about called The 13th Hour. One of the directors is Perry Reginald Teo, who just finished The Gene Generation, which stars Bai Ling, also has Faye Dunaway in it. He was able to get support for that film because of a short film he shot here in 2004 called Take Me Somewhere Nice, which won a lot of major awards, including the Audience Choice at the Sedona Film Festival, which is a pretty prominent film festival. And based on the strength of that film, with completely Tucsonans, he was able to take that and go to Hollywood and say, look what I can do. And they said, okay, we'll fund and provide cast and crew and everything for your first feature. Yeah. So that's coming out sometime in the next probably 6 months.
How exciting.
He's now brought his next project back to Tucson, which is this horror film, which is a 3 short films put together into a feature, kind of like Creepshow.
Right.
Called The 13th Hour, and this weekend we're shooting the last part of the second short. And then in November we'll shoot the third short film.
Okay, very neat.
Confusing.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. You know, what do you think with the new tax incentives in the Arizona tax incentives? Is that going to make a difference on seeing some big feature films coming in, or are we going to see the growth of the indies continue?
Well, I think both. I think the tax incentives are not limited to outside films.
Right.
If you have a film, the minimum is $250,000, but you can actually piggyback a couple films together to reach that minimum. We're already seeing major films come into the state, starting with The Kingdom. There were, I think, in 2006, there were 3 other outside films that came in. Donald Sutherland had a film, and others.
Right.
And this year there have been probably half a dozen from outside the state coming in, and there have been local films. I mean, there are probably at least a half a dozen local feature films shot every year in Tucson. And people have no idea.
Isn't it funny? Yeah.
Right. And these are great films. People see them. I say great. They're much better than anyone would expect. People look at like Red 71. People see that and they look at it and they say, I don't see the difference between that and something shot that you see in the theaters, which we hope Red 71 will go to. The Decoy shot in '05.
Which you were involved with.
Right. Also, almost 100% local people.
Yeah.
Got released in July, and the week of its release, it was like the 50th best-selling film of the week on DVD, and it's really, people look at that and say, I can't believe that was shot, first of all in Tucson, secondly on digital versus HD or film.
Right.
It's really a testament to the filmmakers here.
A lot of growth, and there's a lot of talent in the industry, and we've got a lot of models we work with and aspiring actors that watch the show. What would be some words of advice to them of how to get involved in this burgeoning, growing industry?
A few things. One, do everything you possibly can as far as training, act in everything you can possibly act in, from student films to being an extra on a big film. More also for the experience, but more for the connections, because the film industry is all about
who you know.
Who knows you, and what you know. It's and then go to all the events you can, whether it's at the Loft. They got these First Friday shorts, which are quite an experience.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Now they have a monthly cinema lounge, which is it's one of the Tuesdays in the month. This week was Rick Rose's Sex, Drugs, and Money. There's a mixer ahead of time where filmmakers can interact and meet each other, and you can make connections, and then they show the film and they have a Q&A afterwards. You can really learn about what is being done. So those are the things. Get connected as much as you can. Practice all you can. Get training. There's an instructor in town named Anna Risley who runs a studio off of 4th.
Right downtown,
Yeah, and she was a former Saturday Night Live cast member. And she's very experienced and a good instructor. And then, actually, the most important thing is for investors to go to my company, EmeraldElephant.net, and contact us and find out what we're doing. We have a slate of films that we're looking to fund, a total of a couple $1 million for about a little over half a dozen films that'll be made in Tucson over the next year and a half. And we've gone through a stringent selection process, and these are really quality screenplays made by award-winning filmmakers in many cases. And I'm sure I'm really sure that they'll be profitable. That's why I left my career at Raytheon and took the leap and went into the film business full time.
Exciting.
Yeah.
That's great. And how long have you been doing this?
Full time, 2 years, just over 2 years. I left Raytheon in 2 years ago, September '05.
Well, sounds good. Well, we will look for you on the big screen in front of and behind the cameras.
Okay.
And how do we find you again? Emerald Elephant?
EmeraldElephant.net. Do not go to .com unless you want to waste several hours. Or shock yourself, one of the two, or BrianMulligan.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Brian. I had a great time talking to you. I'm sure I'll see you again.
Okay.
Thanks.